schizophrenic as hell this morning. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Oh, hello everybody. We're live on
They're
this
trying.
What
They're
happened
trying.
to the-
The markets are trying to decide whether to make it good for Trump or bad for Trump.
Yeah. What is up, everybody? It is me, Real American, back in with a new stream, and you can tell we're joined by Mr. Luke and Mr. Real Texan Politics. I believe John's
I
on
will
a
be
little bit.
leaving. I will be leaving in like a minute to eat this amazing tiki masala and then come back on.
All right.
Okay.
There we go. John Rose, hello, welcome.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can
Yes,
hear you.
schizophrenia. I saw someone say that the normal investors are doing what the GameStop investors did like 3 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot to get to today, everybody. So, Chad, are we good? Is the audio working? Making sure, because YouTube's been acting weird lately. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Yep, we are. Okay, let me post on Twitter. Live now. We are in day one. So for those that don't know, we're having a special, like, not I would say a marathon, but like a kind of a week special where every day we'll be streaming for the economic stuff because holy crap, this is gonna be a chaotic week.
Oh yeah, the Chinese Communist Party is now posting Ronald Reagan clips for some reason.
Are you
It's
serious?
interesting. Yeah, about trade.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so a lot to get to, everybody, but before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content, and if you have any questions, concerns, or want to support the channel even further, best way is sending super chats via the chat. Again, I read through as much of chat as possible, but usually super chat's the best way to get your questions answered. Mike for 2, quit your bitching and buy the dip, here's $2. Thank you so much for that. I Am Moon has joined the channel, thank you so much. K-Cup for 5. It's not about the stock market. It's about sending a message. You're getting bullied China. I will YMCA your economy on your economic corpse. Trump, maybe. Yeah, so what do we even start with today? What do we even start with? Because, this might be one of the most chaotic days in the history of the stock market. How many times has it swung, like, the opposite direction?
Well, and I guess a good place to start off with everything, if you're going to talk about the stock market, would be the flash of green we saw. There was a Fox News segment where someone from the White House told Fox News, well, they were asking the representative, hey, is there going to be any sort of pause on tariffs? And he's like, look, I'm not saying we're not precluding that. We're not precluding pauses. But ultimately, that's all the president's choice to make. So he was saying basically nothing. He was saying next to nothing. And a bunch of people took that. It had played a game of telephone, went around the bend, and investors somehow got this idea that, oh, no, actually, there's going to be a 90 pause day on tariffs. And then the stock, all the main stocks, they bumped like 1,000 points in like a 30-minute period. And then they crashed back down. So yeah, that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, so I got the S&P 500 pulled up right here, and for starters, it's not Black Monday. That clearly was bullshit. All right, this idea that it's gonna go down like 80% or whatever, which it can't. I think the limit's like 20, I believe. Right, it's like there's like a set limit, so it can't go below like a certain percent. But either way, look at that. The stock market's right now is only down by 1%, which, again, people were saying it was going to be, what, -20, like -10, some crazy amount, but it really didn't move that much considering. But yeah, we had this little surge for a little bit. It went up to, what was it? Yeah, $5,100 for the S&P 500, which was higher, and it grew like, I think, 1% for a little bit. Or was it up to 2, actually? I don't know. It went up for sure. I don't know if it was 1 or 2%, but yeah. So the stock market right now is a mess.
Now, as it turns out, and I think the important context for that is relative to all the other markets. Our markets, they're down, but how far down is everyone else? Japan cratered, Europe cratered, China cratered. All of these other stocks, I'm not saying that the world market going down is bad, but look at it relative to the dips we're seeing in our market. And you see a very interesting contrast, which shows you that someone in this game has more to lose.
Yeah. I got the Asian and the European stock markets up, and look at this. You have like the China stock market took a shit. That was like, I think the biggest crash ever in the history of the Chinese stock market. I think went down like, yeah, 13%. The Hong Kong one did. So yeah, China got absolutely hammered. Same thing with Japan. I think not North Korea, South Korea, I think too. Basically the entire world market, it went down to shit. But America right now, we're not really seeing that big dip. We're not really seeing like, yeah, it went down 1%, but people are making it sound like it was gonna be like this 20% decrease, but it wasn't. So, anonymous for 5, finance bro here. Hold on, I gotta read this. Many of us know that stocks are extremely overvalued and saw this coming. It was bound to happen. Well, that's my argument, and I think what happened today kind of proved that this stock market's fake. This stock market is 100% fake. It's speculative bullshit. It's not real. Because how the hell is it possible that the stock market could swing how much percent in like 5 minutes? How much did it swing?
It was a very drastic swing. I don't know the exact percentage,
the-
but I was thinking about what you're talking about last night, and I decided to kind of take a look real quick. And there's a figure that you can use to measure how overvalued a stock is. It's called the price to earnings ratio. And it's how much is a stock costing someone to buy, like if you want to buy a share, versus how much does the company earn. And according to a couple of sources I read, a normal, healthy stock evaluation is that the stock costs 15 to 20 times more than what the yearly earnings of that company are. And that's just because you always project them having a future, you know, like, oh, okay, well, they keep doing exactly what they're doing for 15, 20 years. They're going to make more money than they are right now. So that's a healthy evaluation, 15 to 20 times. Look at the big 7 tech companies, Magnificent 7, and you look at it, all of them except for Alphabet are in the 30s.
Jesus.
So to put that in perspective, you know, do a little napkin math for you. These companies are overvalued dramatically more than they are. It's like somewhere between a third and a half of the value of these stocks is fake. It's not even real. It's speculative. And look, sometimes speculation is merited. It's earned. You know, like if you have a company that's been running for 100 years and it's never stopped doing well, well then yeah, a strong speculative price to earnings ratio is merited. But that is not what's going on with these companies. They are being way overvalued. It's funnily enough, the one that's most overvalued is Tesla. Tesla is at 60.
Holy
So
shit.
normal number, 15 to 20. That's the normal ratio, price to earnings. Tesla, 60. And, you know, this was what scared the living crap out of people along, you know, a few years ago, was that I think it was 2022 or maybe earlier. Tesla was valued, and like the price to earnings ratio for their stock was like 1,000.
Oh my god.
Like 1,000. Like, oh my gosh. And, you know, look, you know, Tesla has been doing really well and they've been building up to their value. But, you know, back when that was happening, nobody could have told you for certain that Tesla was going to work out. Oh my gosh. Like that is the most terrifying thing. And if it went the wrong direction, it would have had catastrophic consequences on the rest of the economy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't realize it was that bad. I knew, like, some of it was overvalued. Not by freaking 30 or 40 times. Holy shit. Like, that's a problem, guys. This economy, I'm not saying, by the way, when we say that, we're not saying that, oh, Apple's going to go bankrupt. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is it's overvalued by a lot. And that's not good. Because when it's overvalued this much, it's more likely to have a crash. And right now, just because of one message, one statement, it swung like 10% in like 10 minutes. Is that really a stable market?
No.
It's not. Again, it's not because, oh, like, you know, Apple had a really bad quarter's earnings or whatever. No, it's because Trump said something. The president said, hey, we might, you know, pause the tariffs, which we'll get to that in a second. It's all bullshit. It's fake. All right, Charlie Howard for 5. Hey, wrap off topic, but do you think the GOP has a decent chance to regain the Arizona Senate seats the next time they're up for re-election based on trends? I think they could. Just don't run Kerry Lake. Rodallo for 5. Regardless if Trump gambles, succeeds or not, I'm glad he's doing this now and not doing it next year before the midterms. I agree. you got to take the gamble right now because if worst comes to worst, just course correct. So, Dustin Carter for 2. We need Kemp and Jones in Georgia next year. Michigan, Republican trifecta. It's possible. It's entirely possible we get a trifecta in Michigan. Not to say it's going to happen, but... All right, back to the economic news. So, like, guys, does this look like a stable market? This is like, honestly, how can anyone say that this is normal? That all it takes is one thing to fuck it up.
No, it's not normal, and it's completely a symptom of the hyper-financialization of our market. What is it? Okay, and again, I know that sounds weird, and it may be a term that a lot of people don't understand. But what does it mean for a market to be hyper-financialized? Or there's other better terms, but that's the one I'm using. It means that we are so fixated on selling one product out of our country, and it is our own currency. It is the U.S. dollar. That is the only thing that we actually sell really well in this country is our own U.S. dollar. And the problem with that is that the value of a U.S. dollar is entirely dependent on the eyes of the beholders. So the second the rest of the world is in a financial crisis and they aren't looking properly well at us, they will dump the dollar. I actually saw some other people, and sometimes people exaggerate this. There's like third worldist accounts that are like, and they go up and they're like, oh, China's making a counter Bretton Woods system and they're going to, tomorrow,
we'll get to the
entire world is going to,
they're in trouble, but go on.
Well, they're basically like, well, we're making a counter Bretton Woods system and China is going to replace the dollar tomorrow. Look, it's not, the problem's not that they're going to replace the dollar tomorrow. It's that one day. And I don't know if it's a year from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, one day it's going to happen. And we're not in a situation where we can let that happen. It is nothing. It is a terrible disaster, catastrophe, like extinction level, not like extincting the human race, but extincting the American race. Bad situation. That was what I talked about last week with the de-dollarization thing. But my point is that this is not healthy remotely, and seeing all these stocks come down right now and then, glip way back up the second they think that there's going to be a pause on the tariffs. What that tells you is that this is not, it's not built on real hurt. It's not built on, the pass through of materials that companies need from other countries. It's not built on anything. It's all built on the speculation.
And this is why. Oh, go on. I thought you're done.
No. That's pretty much it. But that's just the point. It's like if we need a real market to survive whatever comes next, and we don't have one. This is just proof we do not have a real market.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, the companies getting hit the most are the ones with the most speculative crap. It's like, oh my goodness, the tariffs are gonna go to 80%, and like out of the blue goes down to 0, and it swings 20 points. It's like that's not normal. It's not sustainable of a system where, oh yeah, the stocks could go up by 20% in one day because the president says we might have tariffs next week. That's insane. And people don't seem to understand that that's a bad thing. How can anyone say, oh yeah, that's actually a good thing? Because it's as if the people bitching the most about this had the most to lose. That's what people understand. The average person, yeah, some people's 401ks might go down in the short term. But really, they're not going to get screwed. They're not. In fact, if the only people getting screwed out of this is the people that own stocks, it's like the top 1%, top 5%. They're the only people getting really screwed into this entire situation. And they're the ones bitching the most about this. So, anyways, sell Mortmeyer, sell for 5. Tesla was basically given a police escort to a high stock price because Elon was a darling of the left in the MSM. Now, not so much. Eugene, Oregon. Yeah, that's the stock market now. If you're liked by the mainstream media or the left, oh, they're going to buy up your stock like nothing. That's the problem. It's not real. What did he say was Tesla's like price ratio or whatever?
So it's in the 60s, which is to say, according to some people, it's supposed to be between 15 and 20, which 15 to 20 times the yearly earnings of the company. Tesla's in the 60s, which is triple what it's supposed to be. In previous years, it was orders of magnitude more.
That's insane. And that's the point we're trying to make. That this is not stable. All right, play rude guy for 2. Trump 2028. Trump has all the cards. Anyways, again, Trump's not gonna run, but all right. So yeah, the stock market went down the shitter today. Well, not really the shitter, but the international market did, which I'm pulling this up. So yeah, the entirety of Asia got screwed. I think they had I think they shut down the stock market in like Japan and China. So yeah,
They flipped the circuit boards.
yeah, they flipped the circuit boards, and because they got hammered. And this is what people understand. You notice who's getting hammered the most of the tariffs, based on the stock market? Anyone notice this? Who's getting hit the hardest?
China.
What do you
I
say,
think
real quick?
China.
The,
Is it China?
What?
the countries that have large amounts of imports into our country, and also the countries that have the highest tariffs already pinned on us from their side.
Yeah. These are the ones getting hit the most. It's Asia. They're getting absolutely screwed. And why do you think Taiwan is on their hands and knees begging? You know, it's just the millisecond this happens, out of nowhere, Taiwan says, you know what? 0% tariffs. We're done. We are done with this trade war. Because guess what? These countries, and this is what these idiots don't understand. I don't get why people listen to the experts still. These same people have been wrong with everything for decades. Well, guess what? These economies, they need America. They can't just sell more shit to Europe. They just can't. Because guess what? Can Europe even buy more stuff? Because they're already taxed to death where they have no money. So who are they going to sell to? Africa? Honestly, who can they sell to? Just an honest question for everybody. Who can these countries sell to outside of America?
Right. So there's a number of countries that are wealthy, but the only problem is that a lot of these countries that could potentially replace the U.S. market have such large governments that absorb so much of the disposable income of the average citizen that they just can't. So there's either impoverished countries with similar populations to us who can't buy the goods, or giant governments, well, like lording over, relatively wealthy people compared to the world, but they just don't have the expendable income to absorb the surplus.
And that's why countries like China or Taiwan, Vietnam, Laos, India, Israel, that's why they're all bending the knee right now.
Right.
What?
I had to break it. Taiwan isn't a country.
Oh, shut up.
But something, since we're talking about the countries, really big news came out of the EU.
Yeah.
The heads of the EU are now saying that they're going to negotiate with Trump, and not just that, but that they're willing to bring their tariffs on our industrial goods down to 0.
Let me pull this up. Where is it at? Here it is. Yeah, so the EU is ready to discuss 0 for 0 tariffs of the US. And this is why the stock market kind of stabilized today. Because people are realizing, oh wait, the EU, they're bending the knee. Which at this point, that's basically every country Trump wanted to bend the knee to. Or they want us, he wanted to bend the knee to us. Because you have... Oh, go on.
According to the White House, here were the major players we needed to bend: Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam. All of them have entered negotiations with Donald Trump. Now, that's only 2/3 of our imports. And it's not quite 2/3, but almost 2/3. The rest of it, I was expecting last week that we would have a protracted kind of tariff war with the EU and China, and that would be the remaining third. And, that's a large chunk of our imports, and it could impact the economy, which is why I was so, nervous. I didn't want to say anything about the actual consequences to the economy, because it's like, well, if the EU and China hold out, that's a third. That's a large chunk of our imports that are being affected. A lot of money for Trump, but it's a lot of potential pass through for our consumers. If Europe is going to lower their trade barriers on industrial goods, what it means is, well, consumer staples will not be in Europe. So they're not going to have Walmarts in the streets of Europe. They're not going to have certain products. but we get to bring our steel over there. We get to bring our raw materials over there. We get to bring whatever we mine. We get to bring machinery. We get to bring little, the pieces and parts that you build automobiles with. Holy crap! Holy crap, dude! That's exactly what we wanted. Do
Yep.
you not realize? Like, and so this is like some of the, if you want to ask me like what's the biggest news today, the biggest news piece is that Europe is going to we have a market of 500 million people about to open up for our steel mills, for our machinery companies, for this very important sector of our economy that Trump has laser focused on even in the first term. It's getting 500 million new people to sell to.
And people understand, for starters, that's going to help these companies greatly. That's 500 million people they can sell to now. But not only that, now these companies can scale up. Therefore, it's going to make stuff cheaper. That's what people understand. When you open up markets like this, it gives them the opportunity to scale up production for this stuff. And that's what Trump is trying to do. And then it'll lower the cost for everyone. I know it sounds kind of weird. It's like, oh, wait, if you sell more stuff, wouldn't that increase prices? Yeah, but they're going to have to scale up production. And that's what they're trying to do. So that's why it's a big deal. The EU is saying, you know what? We'll just, we'll bend the knee. We'll give you 0% tariffs on the stuff. So
we're being able to sell essential goods that are needed by economies like Germany, Poland, Spain. Those countries, the main manufacturing and production in those countries cannot exist without those specific things. That is absolutely insane, and that's what I'm trying to say is like look, if China is alone in this, if we get Japan, South Korea, Canada, Mexico, Vietnam, India, and the EU, and they're all doing what we want, China's fucked.
Yeah,
China is fucked. It's not even funny.
They're desperate. I mean, like, and there's something that people got to talk about, which we'll get to in a second. K-Cup for 5. Other presidents keep hitting the reset button. Trump got the idea to take out the cartridge and blow. People say it hurts the cartridge, but it works every time. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, you have to do something different, and that's what Trump is doing. And listen, I put out a tweet yesterday. I'm not trying to, like, gloat, but, I think I'm going to be vindicated by the end of the week. Let me pull this up. So I said yesterday, and yeah, like, I got it right here. So I said yesterday that I had a gut feeling where this was going. And remember how there was reports that, Besant, he had a separate tariff plan set? That's like the controversy, like, oh yeah, Lutnick and Besant, they had 2 different tariff plans. Well, I have a theory. And again, we don't know if this is going to happen yet, but my theory is over the next couple of weeks, when countries like the EU, India, and all that stuff, when they start bending the knee, we're going to go to the original tariff plan, except for China. This is what I think we did. We purposely went with Lutnick's plan to scare the living shit out of every country. Because guess what? They can't win a trade war. They can't win a trade war at all. But these countries are bending the knee to us now. It's like 50 now, I think. That's what they said, right? It was like 50.
50 countries, and when I first heard that figure, I was skeptical about what countries that entailed, because there's a lot of countries that it could have been that, like a bunch of countries in Africa,
Zimbabwe.
or like random countries. Zimbabwe did do it, and Cambodia and other countries like that. And it's like, that's nice, but it's not meaningful.
Yeah.
And I listed off the countries for you that are meaningful, and when I looked, this morning I woke up and I looked at the actual, like, one of the official lists, and I'm like, that's all of the countries we needed to capitulate.
Yeah.
All of them.
It's all the countries we needed. And now, we won. If we continue with this trend, we've won this trade war without really anything happening. This is the funny part about this. Remember how everyone was saying we're going to have a Great Depression 2.0? Remember that just a couple weeks ago? We may not even have, well, some tariffs are in effect, but nothing has happened. And already all these countries are bending the knee, because what I think they did was they wanted to scare these countries, because I don't think they took us seriously when they said we're going to put tariffs on them. So it's like, oh yeah, what are you going to do about it? Put 50% tariffs on you? Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So yeah, that's what Trump is doing. And we're going to probably go back to Besant's original plan to have like a universal like 10% tariff or whatever. Or whatever it was. After these countries officially sign a deal, and we won. So it's a big win for America. But speaking of good old China, they're in a lot of trouble. they're in a shitload of trouble because
We're about to add like what, another 50% tariff on them?
yeah. So a little while ago, Trump put out this statement saying that if China does not get rid of their 34% tariff on us, he's going to increase tariffs by 50%, meaning that would be an effective tariff rate of 104%. Holy shit.
Okay, and think about the context. Think about the context. All these Southeast Asian countries that have the land and the capacity to replace China, not fully replace, obviously. It's a massive
Yeah,
country,
forget China.
massive production. It's the factory of the world. But there are these countries, a lot of businesses had already been shifting to Vietnam to avoid Chinese tariffs that we had already implemented. And there's other countries that they can use, that they can exploit, that they can go into, and they can build up industry and functionally replace China's, a lot of what China does on the world stage. It's not something particularly special that China is doing. It's just that we've been giving them all of these opportunities. We give them so much leeway over decades. And every single time we gave them good faith leeway, they took it and they used it for their own national interests. I don't think they're evil for that. I don't think that they're dumb for that. I think that they're just acting like nationalists and the rest of the world has been fucking retarded. Like that's the whole thing. Like and I'm not saying like I'm not even going evil China right now. There are enemies. I have a very explicit desires to keep them where they are and push them out of the seas, like, they were doing firing practices off of Australia's coast. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But we just have to recognize that the economic activity of China, the currency manipulation and taking advantage of all these things, they've just been playing the world like a sucker. Think about like all the climate policies. China would sign off and agree to all of these international climate policy things where everybody agrees to like reduce their carbon emissions by so and so and whatever. And they would scold other countries for not being good on climate policy while they were massively increasing their carbon emissions.
Well, that's
Listen,
China. They're a developing country. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Well, and my point primarily is that, listen, they say whatever they have to say to get us to screw ourselves over and give them a chance to get bigger. That's all it is. That's all it really is. It's not a complicated strategy. And they're smirking at us and they think we're all fools. And I don't blame them.
Yeah. Well, they've been screwing us over for decades. So it's like, oh, what are they gonna do now? Put a tariff on us? Now Trump is saying, okay, here's a 104% tariff, which we'll get to why. If this actually happens, China's economy dies in a day, within minutes. We'll get to why in a second. But first, a couple super chats. K-Cup for 2. I told you so. Kamala Harris 2025. Yeah, I told you so for being wrong. Magic Show for $3.50. The ones getting screwed are the 1% of the population. Yeah, basically. So Loom for 2. Trump with the Dodgers was great. They love him. Yeah, I saw parts of that. Dillybot for 10. I want Wall Street to crash. Occupy 2.0. Yeah, it's real. But, can we just talk about why China's they're in a lose-lose situation now? There's one chart I'm going to bring up, and this is something that, how America has a big debt problem? What's our GDP, debt-to-GDP ratio, like 120%, right?
It's pretty bad. I think it might be worse than that.
Well, look at China's. And you may know this is a real problem. China's debt to GDP is 330%. And this is a bad problem for them because now they can't do anything. If, let's say, the trade war really escalates, China's entire economy, it relies on exports to America. Like, basically the entire economy. Without it, they're screwed. Well, some people are saying, well, they could just get a bunch of stimulus, packages to save their companies. Problem is, they're a ticking time bomb. They have so much debt that no one wants that they can't do anything now. Their debt to GDP is so bad that if they pass a stimulus package, it may get to 400%. And at that point, they don't want the debt. No one wants the debt that China has. So, They can't do anything. And so either way, if they pass a stimulus, their entire economy is going to crash. If they do nothing, a bunch of their businesses are just going to leave. They're going to go to Vietnam or whatever. Good job. This is the problem China had. And the reason they got away with it was America never took it seriously. Did they ever do anything to China before Trump? Did any president say anything about this?
No, we waggled our fingers.
Yeah.
So I would say we have said things, but we haven't done things.
No. John Willard for 2, you guys sound like liberal Democrats just because I'm telling the truth. That the current system we got sucks.
No, I think I've seen this guy in the chat before.
Yeah,
I think
it's
he's
John
a bit
Willard.
of a funny troll.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
All right.
Yeah, John Willard, the principled conservative
Yep.
Republican that voted for Harris and supports Democrats in every election because Blumf.
Chris Crater
Oh, John Willard. Oh gosh, that's gross, dude.
Yeah.
Please repent.
Gosh, Chris
Well.
Creative for 5. I was told China looks at everything from an aspect of war, and we don't understand their thinking. Trade, imports, social media, etc. Well, yeah, but the problem is they can't afford this. They literally can't afford this no matter what they do. So, I don't know what President Xi is doing. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. It's like, dude, you can't fight an economic war with us. You may try, but you know what's going to happen? What percent of their exports go to America? Anyone know?
What percent of their exports go to America?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I know that they're like roughly about somewhere between 15 and 20% of our imports. As for exports,
It's
we're
15%.
actually yeah, 15%. Yeah, makes about so like look, we're not totally codependent on each other. We're a large market for China, but they're not totally dependent on us, and that was the part of like what I was talking about bifurcation. I thought that Trump just really wanted to split the world in half, and I didn't think that was necessarily a bad thing because I thought we would end up on the winning side. But you know, with the whole like, let's talk to those multipolarity people right about now. Let's talk to these guys and ask them what they think about BRICS right at this moment. What they think about the coalition gang, because right now the EU has just dumped their buddy China. EU and China were supposed to like collude to screw over America. Japan, South Korea were supposed to collude with China to screw over America, but now they're all coming to the table with America.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
It's
What do
like
you do,
China.
China?
They literally have to. If they don't bend the knee, they're cooked. They literally can't do anything because, again, if Vietnam makes a trade deal with America, you know what's going to happen? Apple's going to immediately put all their production in Vietnam. That's what's going to happen. All their iPhones and shit is be made in Vietnam. So good luck. Good luck with that one. Dragon Eye for 5. We get a 0% tariff for the EU before our steel industry builds up. Then the large EU steel will crush ours because they don't face a tariff now. What?
All right, let me go ahead. Let me pull back up the stream so I can read that.
Dragon Eye. We get a 0% tariff for the EU before our steel industry builds up. Then the large EU steel will crush ours because they don't face a tariff now.
Well, no, we have steel production here. It's not like we're starting from nothing, Dragon Eye. We do have a steel industry, and Trump was building it up in the previous administration that he had. But the whole deal is that we're going to thrive now. We're going to become a much bigger exporter than we were in the past. Look, we've already got Hyundai is investing. We have Nippon Steel. So we have investments from Japan and South Korea into American steel production. We're ramping up right now. And so, no, I don't think we're going to be crushed by EU steel. And I think it's like a really silly notion considering what the current circumstances were prior to Trump putting on the tariffs. It's really silly
The fundamental problem for the EU is, well, the EU has so many regulations that they're not going to be able to keep up with America if we unleash it fully. That's what people got to understand. These countries, if we unleash our full production, they can't do shit. They can't do jack shit against us. So,
well, that is something you have to realize. Like, our federal government sucks, and there's like infinite bureaucracy, but we're actually like trying to attack the bureaucracy right now, and we're slashing things. And there has been massive deregulation promised by the Trump administration to the extent where when they signed in, they were like, for every new regulation, you have to remove 10. Like, that's a really big thing. I don't know if they're fulfilling that promise, but like with that goal, our ambition is to mass deregulate. Europe's ambition is to continue like mass regulate. Like Europe's whole thing grift right now, the EU's grift is basically like nanny stating the world wherever they can. and imposing ridiculous rules on people. Um, like that's like part of like the whole thing where they're trying to like fine Elon Musk $1 billion, right? It's basically like the EU wants to be like the world regulatory police. And they've succeeded. I'm not making total fun of them. Like they succeeded in forcing Apple to use Type-C chargers. And a lot of people like that, but at the end of the day, like that's just the nature of their thing. And so mass regulation, bureaucracy, most of it completely unelected and unelectable, and like not nobody in Europe or the countries that are part of the EU can really fix it. And with the US, we are fixing it. So that's the difference. That's a really big difference when we're competing with the EU. EU has to pivot massively if they want to compete with the new America coming up.
And they're not going to be able to do that because they have idiots in charge. So good luck. Good luck with that one. All right. Anthony McNabb for 8. It's great that America's finally found it's looking after itself. I like the idea of the sovereign wealth fund. Yeah, I like that too. So we're gonna get more information on that. I assume soon.
Oh,
Hopefully.
by the way, should we talk about something else that's been happening recently?
With the certain killer guy.
Yeah.
We'll get that in a second. Luke for 2. Be nicer to China. No. Plus invest this money to buy the dip. Listen, China's been fucking us over for years. I don't get why people think, oh yeah, China's a good guy in this. They're dog shit.
Again, and none of that. I certainly have my opinions about the way China runs its own country and the way China behaves, but I don't blame them for their foreign policy or trade policy in any way whatsoever. They're all completely acting in their best interest. Their foreign policy and trade policy is China acting entirely in its own national interest in being nationalists. And I'm telling everybody, hey, look at China. You actually need to be like that if you want to win. We have to lead by example, not by paternal pandering. And that's a lot of what we're doing. So yeah, we're not being mean to China. What we're essentially saying is, if we don't have China in this specific position, we will never get those trilateral trade agreements that we wanted between U.S., China, Russia. If you want that world where like everybody's cooperating and where China's cooperating, they have to be essentially bullied into this. And that's what they said. That was an official statement from China, by the way. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I saw
They
that.
said that the U.S. is bullying all of the other countries in the world.
Sure.
And again, it's like you can always flip these things. If the U.S. is bullying all the other countries in the world, what the hell have you been up to, China? What the hell have you been up to? So yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah, I really love this tweet real quick that I put in general from Trump.
Oh yeah, Trump.
JD just retweeted it. JD just retweeted it.
Oh, I love it. You know, this is like Trump at his best. When he just posts with random stuff, he says, United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak, don't be stupid, don't be a panicking. I have no clue what that means. Do I even want to know?
I think he's trying to be like, instead of a Republican, you're being a panicking.
Oh, ha. I get it. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. Mike for 2. China. Don't you mean West Taiwan? That's real. That's real.
I hope Luke wasn't watching. He'll have a stroke. He'll have a heart attack.
Yeah, you probably would. All right. Yeah. So let's segue real quickly before we get back to the economic stuff because there's some stuff I want to talk about. Yeah. Real text. Explain this shit show situation. What the hell is this?
Okay, so basically at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, there was like a high school football kid named Austin Metcalf was stabbed to death by this black kid named Carmelo Anthony. Both were, I believe, 17 years old. The story was that Carmelo Anthony was basically just kind of not where he was supposed to be. He was at the tents. But basically what's going on is that a lot of like black nationalists on Twitter are spinning the story around to where Carmelo Anthony was the victim and Austin Metcalf was the aggressor, being racist or whatever, I guess, telling him to get up or something, and then yeah.
So
So
basically, there's gonna be a race riot.
right.
Oh wow, wait, are you saying that in the summer that there's going to be a bunch of
Oh
riots?
gosh. Oh
Wait, like
no.
maybe like a summer of love? Is that like I feel like we've played this track before. I feel like
Here
we've
we
done
go
this.
again. And this is insane. This is freaking insane. Like, there's be a race riot, and he's gonna get off scot-free. They're gonna get one juror to say no. That's what's gonna happen. Great. Yeah, this case has been insane. I've looked a little bit into it. It's batshit crazy. It is utter insanity what's happening.
I may be kind of like shallow on the commentary just because like it's happened so many times. Like this exact same thing has happened so many times over the past decade that I'm just like really numb to it. But what I will say, the reaction is very different. I was looking at Matt Walsh, and it's Matt Walsh has been having some really strong takes recently about like what America is and about like culture and everything. And I was like, what the crap's going on with him? Apparently, he read Steve Saylor's book, Noticing. I don't know if you guys know that one.
Oh gosh, he actually did.
Yeah, apparently,
Oh,
he was citing Steve Saylor in his program. I don't watch Matt Walsh's program, but he was citing it in his program apparently. He read Noticing, and now he's like openly talking about the higher proclivity of certain groups of people towards violence and crime and
yeah, Matt Walsh has
other
been
things.
he's be on the Daily Wire in like the next month. That's gonna happen. All
Yeah.
right.
So the fundraiser that was raised for what is it?
Carmelo
For
Anthony.
yeah. So yes, Austin Metcalf's killer. His fundraiser has raised about
Oh
$160,000.
my gosh.
So the initial goal was 100,000. It broke that. Then it was 150,000. It broke that. So it seems like more and more people, mainly Black nationalists,
This is
are
insane.
finding out about this. Uh, this is probably the next BLM issue right here.
Oh, it's gonna be a race riot. End of the month, end of the year is gonna be a race riot. All right. Wicked for 2. How did Trump's trade policy last passed January 29 or January 2029? Vance wins. That's easiest way. Vance wins. So, if you want to have Trump's policy continue post-Trump, well, yeah, get JD Vance in there. So, but all right.
Yeah, it is really simple in that way,
Yeah.
and it's sad. I think that it is sad that we only have one option. It is. I mean, I guess Rubio could like stand up and show himself to be good, but like we have very slim pickings in terms of Republicans that actually believe in what's going on right now. And so, if you ask me, like when I look at the stock market and I look at everything going on, what I hope for to come out of all of this. Big wins, obviously, but I need some conversions. I need some conversions of faith in the Republican Party. We need some true believers to show up.
Yeah, these
Some
freaking
people.
assholes in the Senate. What the hell are they doing? Mike Johnson might
Oh,
not let that bill to a vote. I swear. Freaking assholes. Utterly worthless. Trying to force Trump not use tariffs. Like, I don't get the party. Trump ran on tariffs. What do you think was going to happen? Did you think he was just not going to do any tariffs? Really? All right, Dalton for 2. Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles are carrying the Daily Wire. Yeah, they're the only two doing anything there. So, and hold up, everybody. We got breaking news. We got breaking news out of Goldman. Right here, Goldman head of risk at CSO is saying that I have been negative, but now I am bullish. Time to start scaling in. Interesting. So this is good news for the stock market, basically.
oh yeah, no. And the BlackRock CEO was saying something similar. I posted it a little bit earlier.
Oh, yeah, let me get that
BlackRock
up.
CEO. Yeah.
Did we just avoid a freaking... Did we just avoid a whole freaking stock market crash recession? Did Trump just pull it off?
He might have. Again, I don't want to like we might be speaking too soon.
Yeah, obviously.
Because like there's no dried ink. Like there's no ink period. We need these deals to be signed, but I think everyone should just have an immense sigh of relief when these first deals get signed because it's going to be, and I'm not talking about Israel. I know they're meeting her later today. I'm talking about
India,
Japan.
Vietnam.
If any deals get consolidated this month between Japan, South Korea, Mexico, we have something we're cooking in the kitchen, or the EU, but the EU probably is going to take longer because it's a giant, massive, regulatory body. But yeah, if we get any deals done with Mexico, South Korea, Japan, it's going to be really, really good news for us.
Hold up. It might go green. I'm looking at the stock market right now. It's about to go green. Holy shit. Holy shit, there's a chance it goes green again. This is great. Again, it may go back down, but, every other stock market took a shit today except America's. Which, again, that just demonstrates that you start looking at the data, this screws everybody else over. This absolutely hurts everybody else, except us. Again, listen, I'm not saying there's going to be for sure no recession or whatever, but this idea that America was going to lose all these countries and then, possibly, the stock market might go down by 80% and then the, unemployment hits 20. It's like, that was never real. That was just fear-mongering. Do people really think that the stock market would go that down because we're tariffing other countries when they do the exact same thing to us? Really? That's your plan? It's a joke. It's another joke. Anyways, let me pull this up. Yeah, so speaking of that, there is one concern I do got. And I do want to touch upon this a little bit because this is my one concern with all of this. So, as everyone knows, we've been looking a lot at the Treasury yield the last couple of days, and this might be the one problem. Now, the theory has been that the stock market, the Trump administration, one of the things they're trying to do is they're trying to get the 10-year yield way down because they're trying to refinance debt, blah, 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 get mortgages down. Well, it's going up a lot right now. The 10-year yield is going up a lot. It's up by like 0.17, which is quite a bit in a day. Now, this should be going down. And it should not be going up like it is. But I do wonder, what's happening here? Are we just seeing like China or whatever dumping a bunch of crap? And like that's what's happening, like they're inflating the margin? Because I honestly don't know. Because this should theoretically be going down, but it isn't. So
we will see if the treasury bonds are going up. Or you're saying the treasury bonds are going up, right? I haven't actually checked it myself.
They're skyrocketing.
Right. Well, that's because of all the uncertainty. They're going in there, and so I think that's actually I think probably the reverse theory of whatever you just described. I think actually the point was to make the treasury bonds go up. And I for some reason my brain is blanking on it because it's not my theory. It's the theory of a former Greek finance minister. But I'll pull it up later so I can talk about it. But yeah, they want a few things to happen with our local market, and it is part of the refinancing of the debt and the and trying to help everything else. A couple things have to happen, and one of the big things that hasn't happened that's related to all of this is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve. Well, the Federal Reserve is supposed to. What Trump really wants is for them to slash the interest rates. And what I think will happen if all of these deals really do go through, the Federal Reserve this morning is in a secret meeting. By the way, I don't know how secret it is, so that we know. But
well, yeah, because they announce like when there's like meetings, it's in private. So my theory is theoretically, they should freaking cut the interest rates. I mean, guys, they pulled shit back in 2024. Remember this? Inflation was still high, but right before the election, they cut the interest rates. Gee, I wonder why they did that. They wanted to give Harris a last-second boost. That's the reality of it. And in fact, it made inflation worse. So, yeah. But the time when it makes sense to actually cut it, they're just sitting back and saying no. Yikes.
Right. And so I think that they've had a mild amount of justification because they didn't know how the tariffs would go. But liberation Liberation Day has come and gone, and now we have 50 countries set up. And when they start signing papers with Trump and the deals start being made, I expect the Federal Reserve to respond in kind. And if they don't, well, I mean,
Just get rid of them. Might as well
honestly,
try.
like, if they really want to be the enemy of the people this much, you really have to wonder what the heck we can even do with it besides destroy it. It's a really um it's a sad place to be. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be sad if the Federal Reserve died. But yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Is we have to. They should theoretically should once markets go green again and we're signing papers that should fix itself.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Someone in chat has said it is a battle between those that think we are going into recession, pricing of bonds, and others take the opposite side, correct side. The bonds should go down off spending cuts. Yeah, so I thought they want to go down. I thought that's what they're trying to do because they want to refinance the debt and make the dumbasses of the Fed realize, oh, we should probably cut the interest rates now. But I don't know. This whole thing's very messy. We don't really know what's going on. Yikes. Who the F gives a private bank control over the money supply? I mean, it's supposed to, like, do its job, but they're not. I mean, honestly, when was the last time the Fed was actually right? Just, anyone know? Have they ever been right about anything? In what, 112 years? Right? Is that when the Fed started? 112 years ago? Right? It's been a while. It's been around for a while, so I don't know.
I think we're just getting terms mixed up here, Rav. Trump, it seems as though it's yields in bonds. Bond prices have to go up for the yields to go down.
Yeah, I flipped that up, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that was my fault too. I was having a flub up with terms too. But yeah, no, we want the yields to go down, which requires the bonds to go up.
Yeah, that's what I meant, chat. So I should clarify, we want the yield to go down. I'm sorry about that. I kind of mixed up terms, and now some idiot on Twitter is going to take that out of context and say, you know nothing. Which I got an argument about this yesterday. Like, you have this dumbass on Twitter, like, everyone knows Rufus. He's trying to claim that I know nothing because I exaggerated about the profit margins. Like, he really thinks I believe these companies have a 99% profit margin. They don't, obviously. But these idiots, they don't know what sarcasm, they're being purposely dishonest, but I don't know. It just, quick tangent about that was stupid. And it's like, these idiots really think I believe that.
Yeah, here for people that follow the gay Coomer atheist, he's not gay, but he's gay spiritually. The Coomer atheist degenerate Rufus, and his complete like harassment of rap or whoever else is just being mildly sensible.
He's worthless.
Listen. Look, the profit margins of these companies, whether they have room to eat tariffs or not, and whether or not they'll pass through a lot of costs to consumers, you have to remember, in a lot of these command economies, control economies, they're heavily subsidized. So even if they didn't have profit margin available to eat the cost, then the government just gives them more money. China's already said they're going to do that. They're like, oh, our response to the stock market dropping 10%, we're going to pump more money into the economy, like we've been doing for years. Like literally, that was their announcement. So yeah, no, even if the problem with like talking about the profit margins of these companies is that they're so deeply embedded with the countries that they're a part of that it's hard to actually truly like measure it in respect to what would actually happen, because like I said, it's like when the government's involved so deeply, it's hard to say. But what I will say, they are going to eat a lot of these costs of the tariffs.
Yeah, and listen, I didn't actually mean they have a 99% profit margin, guys. When I say 99%, I always exaggerate. Everyone knows this, but they're being purposely dishonest. They're very dumb people, and he'll said something very dumb yesterday. He said, and this is what I'm not exaggerating. He said, the reason we have a trade deficit is because we're the richest country on earth. He said that yesterday. Guys, when did America become the richest country on earth? Anyone know? Just anyone in chat, take a guess. When did America become the richest country on earth? Because, These people are full of shit. Every time you hear stuff like that, oh, it's because we're rich. That's bullshit. We've been the richest country on earth since the 1880s or the 1890s. So it's been for over 150 years. We've been the richest country on earth. And do you want to know when we started our trade deficit? John, take a guess. Take a guess.
It's in the 70s.
Yeah. It started in the
1976.
70s.
I think it was 1976.
Yep.
But yeah, no, these people do not understand. They accuse you of not understanding. It's just like how the Democrats project every horrible thing they do onto other people. They do not understand things. And look, we are the richest country in the world. Yes, that is why our dollar is the reserve country. Yes, that is why people want our dollar so badly and our investment and blah blah blah. But the thing is that the thing that actually generated that wealth in the first place, that was actually something that we built up of our own merit. We built it up with manufacturing, with actually doing strategic protective tariffs, and throughout the entire thing. It's like even the wealth that we had going like in the 1940s and World War II, like that was actually not due to any of FDR's policies or any amount of like later loosening of trade. It wasn't free trade that developed
No.
that wealth. It was really strong tariffs because they were still strong during FDR, and it was also war economy. That was what generated the U.S. wealth at that time, specific point in time, was the war economy. And so yeah, and of course, like it was something that people talk about a lot. Like all the other soldiers looked kind of like impoverished and famished and everything else. And well, in World War One, you had the doughboy phenomenon, but in World War Two, they had fancy cigarettes, they had nice condoms, they had like all this. Like the U.S. soldier, the average U.S. soldier looked extremely wealthy to any European that they were fighting alongside, just because of the supplies that was offered to them. And so yeah, like that's like the context is just that the things in the 20th century, we built up a lot of wealth during wartime, both selling stuff to other people, incurring debts from other countries, and then and having a wartime economy. But the main like our first big batch of wealth, that was our Hamiltonian society. That was the manufacturing boom. That was the
But remember,
no.
that's socialism. Alexander Hamilton was a socialist. You know that? These freaking people are dumb.
They're telling on themselves.
Yeah.
They're telling on themselves.
I mean, these people, they're for socialism. They're for corporate socialism. That's what they want. They want the big corporations. They want to socialize that, and everyone else gets absolutely screwed. So, Tomato for 5. Tariffs have never been fully passed on to the consumer in the history of tariffs. Businesses are already charging the max they can get away with. Well, that's part of it. It's like, again, I'm not saying prices will stay the exact same, but businesses have always ate part of the cost. Like, seriously, back in the, let's just say, the richest time in American history was like either the 50s or the 1890s, right? That was the golden age. We had like in the 1890s like 30% tariffs or whatever. Well, was there inflation back then? And I know it's a different system, but still it's like, yes, there's price increases, but there's never going to be this 80% price increase and then there's inflation every day, which again, tariffs do not cause inflation. That's another misnomer.
But they don't, in theory they cause inflation. In practice it's way more complicated because okay, tariffs cause inflation in a world where all 200 countries on the planet have zero trade barriers or tariffs. Tariffs cause inflation in that environment.
Yeah.
But that's not the world we live in. That's the world inside of a book, inside of a theory book. That's not the real world. Now, going into since we're talking about history, let's talk about this. Every single Democrat and kind of mildly retarded Republican has been bringing up the tariff, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act.
Oh gosh, not this shit again.
And I want to bring it up because it's a pitiful irony when you know the real history behind it. And so they constantly bring up a tariff that happened going into the Great Depression, and they try to blame the tariff for the Great Depression. Now, I recommend everyone go onto your YouTube bar after the show and look up Victor Davis Hanson. He has had some of the most insightful commentary on this entire situation. And the last episode that he did, and it's titled something the Great Depression, Trump tariffs and the Great Depression, I think. In the first few minutes, he explains Milton Friedman. You know that guy,
Yeah.
Milton Friedman, a classic economist. 4 or 5 times, Victor Davis Hanson recalls Friedman telling him in person that tariffs were not the cause of the Great Depression. They were a small factor. They probably made it worse. They were deeply like prohibitive and preemptive, and they were steep. 40, 50%. Like some of these tariffs across the world that Trump's doing 10, 15, 20%. Obviously, the big countries that need to capitulate, he's put 40, 50, but most of these countries are like in the lower thresholds. With that Smith-Hawley tariff was really high, and it was preemptive. It was not caused by anything. Here's the difference. They weren't throwing tariffs on us when we did that of the proportion they are right now. Trump is reacting to the tariffs of other countries, not actually imposing his own. And so that's one piece of context. But here's the irony. This is the really important part, guys. Really important part. The tariff happened a year, like it was the act was created a year into it. It was only implemented like 2 or 3 years into the Great Depression. What caused the actual Great Depression were two things: high Wall Street stock market speculation that way exceeded the real value of the market. Sound familiar? Ringing bells? It was high speculative market. And number two, actually too little dollars. And it was this problem where the dollar was really strong, but we weren't printing many dollars at all. And so everybody, and because there wasn't financial security and there was this kind of like, really lopsided economy, people were just hoarding their dollars and not spending them. And that caused the Great Depression. Those are the two biggest causes of the Great Depression, were too few dollars at a very, very high dollar valuation, too few dollars, and a deeply speculative market, a non-real market. So Wall Street caused the Great Depression, and now they're trying to accuse Trump of causing the Great Depression when he's actually, for all intents and purposes, trying to avoid a second Great Depression.
Yeah, I mean, this is you know what? One way I look at this as, I call it controlled demolition of the system, of the current economic system. It's a controlled, okay, we're going to shit the bed for the next couple of months, even if that happens. I mean, the stock market right now, let's see, it's negative 50.5. So yeah, a lot could change, but I do think that this is more of a controlled demolition where it's like, guys, it's going to happen no matter what. The current system we got, we were heading right towards a Great Depression. Like, ironically, it was going to be Great Depression 2.0 if we didn't do this. We need a change now. And of course, there's other reasons why the Great Depression happened. You had the bank failures, you had the Dust Bowl. You had a lot of shit that happened all at once. But does that all sound familiar? Does that sound very familiar to what we're dealing with right now?
Well, right, yeah, and it's like the speculative market thing isn't 100% happening, and like you're saying, if we look at this as like a controlled demolition, there are some real stocks being harmed by what's going on right now. But if those speculative stocks get closer to where they're actually supposed to be, that's actually really good for that's actually saving us from a catastrophe in 5-10 years. And one of the things, the other difference, which is the dollar situation, we don't have a too few dollars situation. We have like a way too many dollars situation. But it's similar in the fact that our dollar is really, really strong, and the dollar back then was really, really strong. And so because of that, or the dollar being strong relative to the rest of the world, because of that, we can end up in a similar but not exactly the same catastrophe if this isn't fixed. And it doesn't have to be fixed by devaluing the dollar, by like deflating the dollar crazily, but what it can be fixed by other currencies, the currencies that are artificially deflating themselves, being forced to peg up and actually behave like real currencies.
All right.
Like if that happens, that there will be a lot of relief for our financial woes.
All right, Lord Croc for 5. Market crash, now it's time to buy. Again, I'm not good financial advice, but some of the people are saying that, hey, maybe this is the end of the run, the bear market. Maybe, I'm not saying it's a guarantee because who knows, maybe next week it crashed at 80%, but K-Cup for 2, Rufus gains spirit transit brain absent. Yeah. I mean, Rufus is just a freaking dumbass. Like, I don't like to bring him up for that reason, but dude, it's obvious I was being sarcastic. And he's trying to say, oh, these maggots know nothing. It's like, dude, you really claim the trade deficits because we're rich. Does this look like a stable system? For our entire history, except like 1806 or whatever, when America first started, it's like we've had no huge trade deficit. And as late as the 70s, which, by the way, do you consider the 1970s pre-industrial age? Like pre-industrial revolution? Did anyone consider that? That we still had a trade balance that's positive. It's not -5. It was like +1. Which, that's the whole point. Trump's not trying to make it like +30. He's just trying to make it like close to 0. That's what Trump is trying to do. It's like, instead of -5 or whatever, make it like -0.5 or whatever. Make it +1. That's what Trump is really trying to accomplish here. But these idiots know nothing. So, anyways. Why do you guys make Rufus famous? Because he's a meme. That's why. It's funny to look at Rufus and laugh at him. I mean, that same guy was claiming that Harris was going to win in a landslide. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If you listen to any point in time, like during the 2024 election, like if you went back and listened to those Twitter spaces from months ago, you would probably want to mock Rufus the entire time.
Oh no, you would just
I
want
just
to
like
leave. You lose brain
you would it is mildly insufferable, and I am like and usually like I don't like to be like super mean to people. I actually like to try to be kind to people that even if I disagree with them, but like with Rufus, he's just like disgusts me on every level that a human being can disgust another person. I just like he's just a disgusting cute. I mean like creature. Like I guess I see him as a human being, but it's just like it's hard sometimes. I don't know.
All right. Let's see. So, oh gosh. Well, so people are like bitching about like Nike. It's like, oh, I can't buy a pair of shoes. You know what Nike just said? This is an American company, by the way. Nike is saying
American.
that they will not build factories in America, and apparently they're going to sell their products in China for cheaper.
Lol.
I thought this is an American company. Oh my goodness, they're going to raise their prices. Guys, these companies are full of shit. Like Nike, I don't give a shit if they have a 50% crash. I don't care. Because of crap like this. So they're going to sell their products, which I thought they have to market up that much. Oh, they have such a small profit margin. Yet they could sell in China for a lot cheaper? Really? Which I know there's currency differences, I get that. But still, it's like, what a great American company. Which, by the way...
Yeah, no, listen, like some of these, in the process of all this, some of these companies are going to turn coat, and you guys just have to be prepared for like countries that did start in America to just like disgustingly throw us off. They're nasty people. Just don't worry about it.
Support New Balance. They have a Made in USA brand, I think. Like a line of shoes. New Balance, I think, does. Support companies like that. They make stuff in America. Support them. Don't support Nike.
Yeah, I've used New Balance for quite a while. And a couple of other. I think I think I used Brooklyn shoes for a while. But no. There we have some like really good foot brands. And honestly, like it's really funny talking about like, oh, we gotta have cheap shoes from China. Like, isn't like the entire like there's an entire market like with certain demographics of this country that are obsessed with buying like $500, $600, $700 shoes, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
And they're shit.
You know if shoes are well made, why would we need to buy them every year? Like that's. It's not like even if the good prices of the good went up, if you can wear it longer, then it's not actually as bad.
This is what I'm telling people.
I think there's kind of a culture in America where people they buy shoes for the brand.
Yeah, I know that's like you got like the Air Jordans and stuff. I understand that, but it's like that's what Nike does. Like honestly, how much does it cost to make a shoe in Vietnam? Let's cut the bullshit. They claim it's like $80. They're full of shit. It costs what? $5 maybe for a pair of shoes? $5-6? And then they sell it for like $150. That's Nike. Meanwhile, which by the way, this is the ironic part about this. New Balance, which I've been looking more into recently, because I didn't know this. They actually have a made in the USA line. And the prices aren't that different. They're not, it's more expensive, but from what I read, it's only like, it's not that much more different than Nike or whatever. And in fact, they're higher quality. People are saying that, yeah, the quality's way better, which is the point. When you make in America, it might be more expensive, but you know you're getting a good product. When you buy shit from China or Vietnam, you get what you paid for. That's the truth in it. You get nothing. Anyways. Let's see. K-Cup for 2. Let's see. Yes, Paris, Trump is bullying me, President Z. Yeah, that's President Z right now. He's running a hissy fit. Jacob Holly for 5. Let's go correct the market, support the unions. We workers will get a good, fair, square deal. Yeah. Dalton for 2 is on a good brand. That's what I wear. I don't know what that is. You mean New Balance? I don't know. If you say New Balance, yeah, but anyways. All right. Shake a light for 10. I'm invested in the short-term pain, long-term gain strategy. I'm ready to plant trees whose shade I know I won't sit under. I'm doing it for my future kids. Buy USA will create American jobs. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. It's like, you know, we might have short-term pain, which I have my doubts about that now, but yeah. Eric C. Bear for CB for 10. Never liked Nike. Always had to go up a size up with their shoes, and I haven't bought from them since they bent the knee to Kaepernick and pulled their patriotic shoes. Yeah, that's Nike. What a great American company. You know how people have like boycott like Disney and stuff? Why can't we boycott Nike? Why? Honestly, why can't we boycott like Nike or what's another really shitty company? What's a really shitty company you guys can think of that's supposedly American?
I guess Budweiser.
Budweiser, they're up there, but they kind of learned their lesson a little bit, but
yeah. You know, and I want to point something out. Isn't it funny that the country that actually was part of our social decline is fervently on the side of China?
Yeah.
There's a funny little coincidence. I just want you guys to I'm not trying to start a conspiracy theory or anything, but you know, it's kind of a kooky coincidence. Yeah, no, and like what your commenters are saying, your super chatters are saying, you know, we're shifting the economy. We're shifting it from consumption to production, and I think that will make the culture better. I think not being addicted to hyper cheap goods will make the culture better. I think people actually caring about what they make and actually being able to make things because the jobs are available for them to produce things. I think that'll make people feel better. But what I was gonna say is like when I was looking at stocks the other night, and I told you about a bunch of highly overvalued tech stocks. Can you guess like what the other highly overvalued stocks in the stock exchange are right now that aren't tech? Can you guess? What are they?
Let's guess just a random one. Nike?
Well, no. Well, I mean probably, but the ones that I've been looking at, some of the worst ones, are all consumption based. It's either grocery outlets, or Coca-Cola, which is sitting at 28. You know, the number's supposed to be price to earnings ratio is supposed to be 15 to 20. They're at 28.
That's not as bad though. It's like some of the companies.
Well, right. The tech companies are way overinflated, but you know, Coca-Cola's high, Procter and Gamble's high. Procter and Gamble is like this conglomerate of a bunch of stuff that you do. Like, think about your dish soap, think about your laundry detergent, think about like a bunch of random stuff around your house. It comes from Procter and Gamble, and so my point isn't necessarily that these are bad investments. I actually have in the stocks in a couple of these companies, but no, what I'm actually saying is that the reason those are our over speculated stocks in America is because we're a consumption economy. In other countries, they over speculate on their chip building or on their steel mills or on their automobile companies or whatever else. They over speculate on those because they have bright futures. We don't have we haven't in this country had bright futures set up for any of our manufacturing. And so all of the money, all the speculation, all the finance has been going to not producing anything, just staple goods, just stuff that we immediately consume and then throw away. Nothing that actually lasts or produces value of its own.
Consume product. That's all it comes down to.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking about the culture thing. If our entire culture today is consume product, I wonder how that changes when we actually start building things again.
You know,
How does that change?
that's actually a very good question, because what I think people are gonna realize is they're gonna realize, like, again, I'm not trying to be one of those people that say, oh, you don't need to buy a phone or whatever, but like, I hate that. I hate where it's like, oh, you know, you're a peasant. You don't need a phone. It's like, dude, when you say stuff like that, that makes you seem like a dumbass. But here's my theory, and I'm curious what Chad has to say. What I think will happen is people are gonna realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't have like. Obviously, there's essentials in life, you know, housing, food, all that stuff. That stuff you're always gonna need. But it's like, you don't have to buy the new iPhone every year. That's what I think's gonna happen. People are gonna realize, oh wait, I have the iPhone 14 or whatever. Do I really need the iPhone 16? Just honestly, it's like, do we really need to buy that now? Like, yeah, in a couple years upgrade, but why do we have to buy this stuff every single year?
But like, imagine a world where you bought a product and the product was intended to it was so good that it was intended to be good and last you 10, 20 years. Like, and you don't have to keep it for 10 or 20 years. You can go and buy a new one. But imagine if every single product, including your phone, did that. There's actually the funny thing with that Samsung and a couple other companies were doing, where in the past they would actually this was actually egregious with Apple, I believe, but they would intentionally slow down the performance of your phone after a few years so that you would be prompted to buy a new one. But like, and that's consumption economy. But production economy, imagine you buy that same phone and it's beautiful and it's really well made and it's really hard to break and it just works and you don't have to replace it if you don't want to. Imagine that world. Imagine that world.
That's what I think the end goal of all this is. Because what the current system we got is just, yeah, consume product, and like, you don't even think about it. But I'm hoping this kind of makes people kind of slow down and realize, maybe we shouldn't be consuming everything we see just because we can. Maybe
what if instead of cheap and kind of worthless things that we instantly consume or replace within a year or two, we started building beautiful, lasting things, both structures and products that people that people just continued using, not even because they don't have the money to buy new stuff, but because it's just such a good product that you don't feel like replacing it.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
K-Cup for 2. I wish Giannis would cancel his partnership with Nike. I agree. Jacob Hawley for 5. Nike gloated about using slave labor in Tibet and Zhejiang, and the CEO laughed about it on Morning Joe. Yeah, I mean, that's Nike. Like, at least Apple, I never seen them laugh about it. Like, they're kind of like, oh yeah, we kind of use some cheap labor. But at least with Apple, I mean, they're investing in America again. At least they're saying they're going to invest like $1 trillion. Nike's just saying, no, fuck you. We don't need you. We can do it ourselves. Jacob Hawley for 5. But how am I going to afford my new iPhone 200 for the new Chinese-made Tok app? Well, that's the consumption economy we got. Like, we just consume product and then get excited about new product. Yeah, Clash Assassin, thank you for saying that. Consume product and get excited about the next product. It's speaking of that, the whole Nintendo Switch thing's a freaking joke. Never in my life have I ever seen a crowd that could go that same.
Oh, they're so upset. And you know, listen, like, I'm not going to pretend as if I'm doing this to trigger the liberals. I was always going to buy a Switch 2, but like, it does satisfy me to know that like me buying a Switch 2 upsets like all of these people who like hate the idea of spending a little bit more on a Vietnamese made product. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's really funny to me. The whole thing's so funny to me. Like the Nintendo Switch cope. It's like if you want to see mental illness central, just go look at that. Oh, by the way, your commenters are saying the stock market's green.
Let's see. Holy shit, it is. Now it's not by a lot, but it is green. So, ladies and gentlemen, the stock market right now is green. It might go down again, but Yeah, this was supposed to be Monday, remember? This was supposed to be the biggest economic crash since the 80s. Yeah, how's that going? And I'm very curious to see what individual companies are actually going up. Because I'm assuming like companies like NVIDIA are getting hammered right now. Like NVIDIA and Apple, I'm guessing. Can anyone look that up? Anyone know which companies are going down or not? I'm curious. We're so back.
Well, it was really funny. The Fortune 500s thing came up. We talked a little bit about it, but like the top 500 richest people in the world lost like 3 trillion over the weekend. And it's really funny. His stocks went down, but there was one wealthy man who actually had personal wealth gain. Not his stocks, but like his personal wealth went up. And do you guys know who it is?
Who?
Warren Buffett.
Every time.
Warren Buffett, the guy who predicted all this and who wrote in 2003 about how much we needed export certificates. And I've talked a little bit about it, but like basically the short way of explaining it is what Warren Buffett wanted to do to fix the trade deficit 20 years ago is actually really similar in flavor to what Trump's doing right now. Like it really is. It's really similar, and it seems like he's like the only guy out of all these rich people that understood what Trump was trying to do. It's really funny actually.
Yeah, every time like you ask like, oh yeah, who's the winner in all of this? It's always Warren Buffett. It's like, yeah, I got like 300 billion in cash right here. I'm just sitting on it. Jacob Hawley for 10.
Guy.
Democrats, well, if you want your video games and want to be internet goombas, well, you'll help us win and give us money to globalize and sell it to China, Japan to get your games. Well, that's the messaging right now. Like these people, like these finance bros, not every one of them, but they're like saying, oh, the Americans don't want to work in a slave camp. No, but why do you want them to work it? Why do you want the Chinese people to work in a slave factory for like $2 an hour, if that?
What if the dichotomy of it being a slave factory was entirely false?
Yeah. What if?
And premised upon bad trade deals and barriers across the world.
What if? Hear me out on this one. What if the American worker is going to get better conditions, better pay, a pension, health insurance, and what if that's what we want? And of course, these people are saying, "Oh, no one wants to work at a factory." Bullshit. If you get offered a good paycheck, and I hear the fact that, oh well, there's a bunch of manufacturing jobs open. Not really. That whole LARP of, oh, there's so many jobs opening, that's technically true, but they're not high-paying jobs. They're not good. So,
it's anemic, and I'm really disgusted by people who talk about it like that. And I guess the way to realize that it's all a farce is to basically just look at where the jobs are relative to where they were supposed to be if they were growing like a normal industry. And like it's like so the economy has far outsized these industries. They're a very small portion of our GDP. That's how you know this is all a farce.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. All right, K-Cup for 5. Just John Watch Switch 2 is in the U.S. won't have a price hike, but U.S. gamers will become globalist gamers and import a more expensive Switch 2 to own the Orange Man. That's real.
So true. So true.
Magic Show for 3. Theories flushed down the toilet. Well, the thing about this, if Trump actually wins here, that's like 50 years of economic theory down the toilet. So, Alex,
it's going, yeah.
What?
How's it going, Rap? I said, how's it going?
Good.
I'm back.
Alex Maddox.
Well, I was just.
What? Yeah.
I was gonna point out, because I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention, but the S&P and Nasdaq are back above, and the Dow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dow looks like it's about to go up.
All right. Alex Maddox for 5. Where were these liberals crying over the Switch 2 now during Biden? We were told not to believe our lying eyes and rising prices. Yeah, and the thing about this is, like, Nintendo even said that this has nothing to do with tariffs. They're just greedy bastards. That's what they said. The Nintendo of America president, Doug Bowser, funny name, he literally said that, yeah, the Switch 2 had nothing to do with the tariffs. So, yeah, they're full of shit.
True.
So there's a really eloquent tweet that just came out from my man VDH. I'm just going to read the last bit of there's a bunch of paragraphs, but the last paragraph says this. Getting to zero or identical, so not necessarily zero, but identical tariffs with a host of current mercantile trading nations would be an astounding accomplishment and one that the public needs to digest, appreciate, and savor before in one fell swoop jeopardizing such historic corrections by trying to solve the entire half-century trade quagmire all at once. A task that'll lose public support if countries are still tariffed after agreeing to zero reciprocal tariffs. So VDH is basically saying, I approve of the reciprocal tariffs. The public approves of the reciprocal tariffs. Trump needs to agree to these current deals, and get these barriers down, or just have identical tariffs with these countries, and that's going to be what's best. And I do agree with him there. I really think Trump should seize this moment. He has so many people ready to negotiate with him. Let's get those barriers down.
Jacob Holly for 5. I'm working at a paper printer factory, family owned, the benefits are great, I make $32 an hour. Yeah, it's like, that's the American dream, to have a good job. We're actually making stuff, because, guys, these office jobs make shit. They don't produce anything.
Yeah.
Do they? And hold up, we got breaking news, everybody. From the EU. What the hell? Wait, what? Hold
What
up.
did the EU do?
I gotta confirm this. The EU is proposing 25% tariffs on America. Huh? What the fuck?
Right. So this is the immediate retaliation, and so I don't know. This is kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth to a certain extent. They want to negotiate with Trump, but they want to negotiate from a position of strength, I suppose. So I think this is what's
May
happening.
16th. I thought it was like now, but no, it's May 16th. Yeah, when they say it's a month and a half away, that means they're gonna negotiate this.
Yeah, no, it's basically like, well, we're going to threaten to do something to you. I think Trump's going to ice him for a little bit. There's like, he's going to make, he really should, if he's going to wheel and deal, go to the EU last.
Yeah,
Trump,
say fuck you.
Trump, finish Mexico, finish Japan and South Korea, finish Vietnam, and then once the Canadian elections finish, get the Canadians wrapped up as quickly as possible. Those are the trade deals you finish first, and then once 2/3 of our import economy are completely settled, then go to the EU and be like, what kind of deal? You know,
Yeah.
it's a way stronger position if Trump finishes lowering barriers with all of the other countries first. EU needs to be last.
EU's are a bunch of dumbasses.
They are dumbasses.
All right. So let's see. The stock market has not really moved that much since the news broke. So interesting. Very interesting that the actually gone up a little bit actually. So I think the stock market kind of realizes this is bullshit too. They're like, who cares?
Yeah, I will say that with everything everyone was talking about last night, with how like all these other countries are tanking, and then we open up and it ends up being like
it's positive
a
right
normal
now.
day.
It's right now positive for us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, there's a lot of people that if this ends up positive today, there's a lot of people that have some explaining to do. It's like, wait, you were banking on a black
Like Jim,
Monday.
well, Jim Cramer doesn't have explain to do. He just like we should have expected it.
It's reverse Kramer every time. Every time.
To be fair though, this morning he said don't panic, and everyone was panicking.
That's true. All right, K-Cup for 2. But rap, green stonk equals Biden economy. I swear, if these people start coming out of the woodwork and say this is Biden's economy, I'm gonna lose it. No, that's
Oh yeah, they will. That's probably what Ken Martin is thinking right now.
All right, Jacob Hawley for 20. Yep, Ursula von der Leyen is a European Union nationalist, and she had a podcast the other day saying how the EU needs to be independent of the US and work more with China. She's a conservative, but she's acting like a clown-like. Yeah, well, that's EU. The freaking
also the CEO of Give Send Go is having a mental breakdown as we speak.
Why?
Well, remember the Carmelo Anthony fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was from Give Send Go.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
Well,
Great.
sorry, someone walked by. But yeah.
dude, like this is just on edge. Like the Dow is 0.15 away from flipping, but now it's down to 0.11. Like we're just waiting.
S&P's
for
about to go to
second.
1%. If we end a positive today, which it may not, we don't know, things could happen. I will laugh hysterically if it ends positive.
Well,
today.
the whole what was it? What were they calling it? The Monday?
The Black
What did
Monday.
Kramer?
Black
Yeah,
Monday.
Black Monday. That didn't happen.
Again, even if it goes down by 1%,
It's
like
over. It went from negative 0.11 to negative 0.13. Black Monday happening. It's over, dude.
yeah.
It's over.
But
We're
it's like
cooked. 0.17 now. It's
to me,
over.
this is my guess is people kind of here's what I think happened. I think a lot of these investors they panicked but then they began to realize that, oh, wait a minute. The U.S. economy is the biggest on earth, and these countries are bending the knee. Maybe we kind of panicked too much. Maybe this is a bad idea. People should look at NASDAQ. Yeah, sure. Let me get NASDAQ up.
Are they going down with the news or
wow,
what?
holy, yeah, that's pretty good. It's up.
Oh, the green.
Is S&P still up or?
Yeah, but still up. Everything's up except Dow, which makes sense.
It's the Biden economy.
0.011.
Yeah,
That's
Dow's
how
gonna,
much it's down.
Dow's with a flip, I think. Yeah. So, oh yeah, there's a lot of people. Hold up, I got some people I gotta listen. If the stock market ends up being higher than it was a week ago, I have a video planned. It just like it's gonna be like a slideshow of like all the people say the stock market's gonna crash by 80%. It's just, oh my gosh.
Actually, it's just the delayed. It's just a delayed response to the Biden economy.
Yeah, this is the Biden economy. It's like 5 months after. Now the Biden economy is in effect. Now, before we end the stream, there was something I want to touch upon real quick that Rasmussen found that was very interesting. So Rasmussen today, they found Trump's approval went down a little bit, to like -2, which I don't think is much of a surprise. You know, when you have the stock market like this impacts like 401ks, it makes sense. But they found something very interesting. So, can you guess which demographic is his best for age groups?
Oh, young people, definitely.
Yep. Young people right now, 18 to 39 is +7. 40 to 64 is -6. 65 plus is -2. Yeah. The most favorable group for Trump is young people. It's as if the stock market doesn't really impact these people. Now, of course, it makes sense. I do think Trump's approvals could go down a little bit because people are going to panic and say, oh my goodness, you know, my 401k went down. Like, the people that are about to retire, that makes sense. But if it just goes back up, people are going to be like, oh, nothing happened. Make a slideshow presentation with no talking, just a Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. Oh, that would be the plan. Just for like 10 minutes straight. So, all right. Thursday and Friday was a Trump economy. Today's Biden's economy. Yep. That's real.
Wait, to be fair, I think since the economy last closed, we got chicken jockey. I think that helped the economy.
Oh, gosh.
There's no other explanation. That's the only thing that's changed since
I hate
Friday.
that meme. I hate those memes so much.
Oh, gross.
All right. So everyone,
Yeah, have you seen like those movie theaters? Everyone's like throwing
losing their
popcorn
shit,
and
you know,
drinks.
I think the cops got called the one because there was like fucking
these people are freaking nuts.
For food all over the floors and shit. I feel so bad. You know what?
They're like pausing the movies and they have like the employees coming out and like yelling at the teenagers.
This weekend was the worst for like theater janitors. I felt
feel
so
bad.
Like
them.
I saw
Right,
some of these.
See ya.
I saw some of these videos where there were just like hot dogs on the ground. Like,
yeah, there's shit on the floor. There's popcorn. There's soda. It's like, these people are very nice. Very nice people. All right, everybody. So I think it's time to end the stream here. So this was day one coverage of the stock market. Actually positive today. As of now, it could change, but I don't think it's gonna change that much more because we're in the it's 2 o'clock now Eastern time, so it might change. Dude,
I'm kind of sad because I was kind of pumped for there to be like a whole week of like chaos, and now it's just looking normal. Like it's looking like there's not gonna be too
the
much
play this week is everybody will have a stream every single weekday. This is day 1. Well, day 2 will be tomorrow, obviously, then so forth. Because we gotta watch the stock market. And by the way, Thursday's a big day. Yeah, I think it's Thursday because you know what drops Thursday? Anyone know?
What?
The CPI, the inflation data. So we're gonna see what the inflation was for the last month. Yeah, I'll check. Is it Thursday? Yeah, it's April 10th. So basically,
Oh,
that's
I'm convinced the Dow Jones is just rigged. It's been sitting at 0.10 for like 10 minutes. Like, come on, dude. Just go positive.
yeah. All right, Jacob Hawley for 10. Wait, Democrats are worrying about corporations and the rich investors class. Two political parties just pull a 180 flip. Looks like Republicans were the pro-worker progressives the whole time. Well, the funny thing is that was Republican Party in the early 1900s. That was Republican Party, but yeah. Which, by the way, you know the funniest thing about all this? I remember all these people were like panicking with the stock market, but it's like, yeah, it's back to like 0.3, but still, it's not like negative 30 like they were saying. But
Oh yeah,
anyways.
Rap, there's something else that like completely ignored the news cycle, but
What?
even Trump managed to work it in yesterday. Completely unrelated to economics, but Trump randomly during that press conference yesterday decided to endorse Chris Sununu
Oh yeah, Chris Sununu,
preemptively.
he's got the nomination. He's got the
Which is
nomination.
funny because I was told that Trump was going to tank Sununu because like I was told that Trump was trying to tank Sununu and he was going to endorse like some schizo MAGA candidate against Sununu. But it
That's
sounds
good.
like Trump's all for. He also revealed that he met with Sununu in the White House and encouraged him to run. So yeah, I think Sununu's running and
All
he's
right.
already got the Trump endorsement.
So
So
everybody, I do got to get going, everybody. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below. And it looks like S&P 500 is about to go back to negative, which, of course, it's going to fluctuate, but I don't think it's going to crash down much. So, again, anything can happen. But, all right. We'll see you guys in tomorrow's stream. Yeah, day one actually was not a bad day considering. Actually pretty good. Factory their stock markets. But, all right. We'll see you guys
well,
next...
yeah, the second Kramer said it was going to be Black Monday. So all you need to know, just whatever Kramer says about tomorrow, expect the opposite.
Yeah.
So
All right. Godspeed.